25 pro handicappers. $25,000 on the line. This is the Circuit Friday Football Invitational on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Here is your host, Matt Humans.
All right, that's exactly how Brent Musburger explained it. $25,000 of Derek Stevens' money up for grabs. 25 handicappers at the beginning, down to 17. Scott Pritchard in the top 10 as we head into Week 13. Las Vegas Pro Bettor, TikTok superstar Scott Pritchard in studio tonight. And right now, Scott, you are in ninth place, 42-40-2. But in the Golden Nugget contest right across the street here in Fremont, you are one game out of first. You have a second-place entry, and you've got, 3 entries in the top 15 in Tony Miller's Golden Nugget contest, right?
I'm a big fan of Tony Miller and the friendly folks at the Golden Nugget. Was fortunate to take 6th place a year ago, and it's a dog-eat-dog cutthroat contest, much like this contest. But yeah, at this point, 53 wins, 31 losses versus the point spread. So 1 game out of first place, 6 weeks to go.
Yeah, you should mention you're a big fan of Tony Miller. You don't want to talk crap to that guy, or you don't want to fight that guy. He's strong as a rhino, by the way. One night I saw his Tony Miller's nephew challenge him to kind of a bar fight. And Tony Miller's nephew played offensive line at Georgia State. Tony threw him around like a rag doll. And this kid's 25, 27 years old. Tony Miller tossed this kid around the bar. You would not have believed it. When I say strong as a rhino, I mean it. Tony Miller's not a guy you want to mess with. Great job with this contest, and great job by you being second place and in a great position to cash there.
Well, I want to expand on your point regarding Tony Miller. I guess based on what I'm hearing, if Tony Miller gets into a fight with the grizzly bear, you'd better help the bear.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to bet against Tony. I've seen him in action. All right, Scott Pritchard, let's talk about your plays this week. And actually, I'm going to start with your best bet because you got 2 plays on 1 game. And you and I were talking during the break about weather conditions in Buffalo, and is the snow going to be a factor? Snow, wind, is that going to be a factor in this game and how you handicap it? Are there going to be overreactions to the reports of heavy snow in Buffalo? You have a best bet here on 49ers plus 7, and you also played this over the total of 43.5, so 2 plays on 1 game.
Yeah, when I look at this game, and again, whenever people talk about Buffalo and they talk snow this time of year, I automatically revert back to the 80s when Bo Jackson and the Raiders went into Buffalo. And I remember in a snowstorm, the sign one of the fans held up was, "Bo don't know snow in Buffalo." So obviously we want to respect the home field, the home cooking, the home crowd, and the adverse weather tends to favor the home team. They're more acclimated than, say, a West Coast team like the San Francisco 49ers. They have not only traveled on the road, but they have to travel across 3 different time zones. So to your point in regards to weather, this line opened a bit higher. I've oftentimes said ultimately you want to be on the move early or against it late. In this contest, I'm against the move. The money has come in on the under. I tend to play over. We even saw it in the Dolphins game against the Packers. We know the Dolphins struggle on the road, adverse weather, although I don't know how much weather had to do with 15 to 20 missed tackles in that contest. I think it's just called ineptness or just bad tackling, bad fundamentals. But I like the Niners plus the points. Brock Purdy, it looks like he obviously is going to play, so I think I got a good number at plus 7. The line wouldn't be 7, I think, because the line now with Purdy in the lineup is 5.5 to 6, but the Bills are getting way too much respect, Matt. I think that the Bills favored by 7 against the Niners, that shouldn't apply even if your quarterback is Steve DeBerg.
Brock Purdy expected to play, was sore shoulder. Trent Williams, 49ers best offensive lineman, ruled out, and Nick Bosa, defensive end, also ruled out. Niners have a bunch of injury issues. We locked the lines in for this contest at noon on Fridays. Noon Pacific time Friday, we use the Circus Sports number. Right now it is Buffalo minus 6 and total of 44.5. So you're getting the best of it here, playing plus 7 and over 43.5. And you've been catching a little bit of criticism for playing a lot of line moves, screen moves. How do you respond to that? Because it's hard to argue with your results in the contest.
Well, first of all, if you're successful at anything, you never waste time responding to your critics because they're everywhere. Don't ask me how I know. The other thing I would say in response to that, it's not like these lines come out on Wednesday and you have until Saturday night at midnight to post, you're talking about a 3 to 5 minute window. And as a sharp, as an advantage player, this is how I make my living. And if anyone expects me to apologize for getting on a half point and a half, the best of it in this contest, respectfully, man, stale numbers, I don't really think they exist. And again, as I said before, you want to be on the move early or against it late. But if there are critics out there, I will say Lions never concerned themselves with the opinions of sheep.
You also say points matter more than opinions.
Right? I don't know if that's good or if that's bad.
All right, Scott Pritchard right now tied for 9th in the contest. There you go. Let's go Steelers-Bengals under the total of 48. You've only got 3 NFL plays, and this is your third.
Well, I look at the Bengals taking on the Steelers. I think the Bengals are this year's version of the NFC 49ers. The 49ers are much better than their record. The Bengals are much, much better than their record. But unlike the Niners that have been banged up and hurt with a number of injuries and or they've lost games that they just flat out gave away, the Bengals have just been inept. The Bengals are so good, they are capable of beating themselves. And they've proven it with ineptness, with turnovers and penalties and bad decision-making. And I blame Zach Taylor as much as anyone. Ultimately, the players have to be held accountable. But I love Mike Tomlin. He's a great, great coach, the epitome of continuity and consistency. But offensively, the Steelers are extremely conservative. And defensively, they're sound. They're solid. I like the under in this contest.
You know, we were talking about some of the best teams in the AFC, the Bills, Steelers. Bengals not really in that discussion right now, but today we watched the Chiefs escape with a 19-17 victory over the Raiders. You have any opinions on those two teams, and if you think the Chiefs are a little bit phony at 11-1 or not?
The Chiefs are anything but phony. They are actually going to the AFC Championship, and unlike last year where they had to go on the road to beat Baltimore and on the road to beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the road to the Super Bowl goes through Arrowhead Stadium. So I every day the media is beating up on the Kansas City Chiefs, but the fact is they've had the toughest schedule in all of football and they have one loss. Are you kidding me? They may not lose another game the rest of the season. The Raiders, not a big fan of the coach, Pierce. I said it at the time a year and a half ago. This guy has no experience coaching, was never even a coordinator when he was handed the job as an interim coach. They initially got a spike. Well, that oftentimes happened. But when you have your best player, Devontae Adams, not wanting to go to practice and says, hey, I want to get traded. Crosby, not wanting to go to practice, not a good sign from a leadership standpoint. And I'm also reminded, I was at the game last year on a Thursday night when the Chargers played the Raiders, and the Chargers were up 135 points in the third quarter, and Pierce decides to go with a trick play. Are you kidding me? Showing up a divisional opponent? Well, the Chargers came back. It came back to bite the Raiders and their fans as the Raiders took it to them this year opening weekend. Why would you do a trick play up so many points? 63-21, I think the score was in that contest. And plus, if there's an outside chance that you can make the playoffs, why would you show that?
Yeah, the Raiders pummeled the Chargers last year and then went to Kansas City on Christmas Day and upset the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that got Antonio Pierce the job.
And let us not forget, I would like to forget, the Raiders. No team in football has fewer wins than the Raiders.
2-10.
Yet they eliminated me from the Survivor contest. So if I'm a little bit biased, you got me triggered there.
When did you play the Raiders?
Actually, it was I was against the Raiders in week 2 against Baltimore.
Oh, when they beat
right.
beat
the
Baltimore.
Raiders knocked me out of the Survivor, and I still haven't. Maybe I should move on. I haven't gotten past it.
All right, 3 NFL plays here from Scott Pritchard. Best bet, 49ers +7. Also got the 49ers-Bills game over 43.5, and he's got Steelers-Bengals under 48. Scott, Chris the Bear Felica just came out and made a strong case for Ohio State -20. You're going to actually play Michigan +20.
Well, if Chris Felica speaks, I listen. But in this case, points mean more than opinions. I like the plus 20, and I'm not going to say what everyone else says, that when these two teams meet, you can throw the records out the window. What I will say is Michigan has won the last 3 times. I understand, totally different game, totally different scenario, 2 totally different teams. Ohio State going one way, while obviously Michigan is not. But I like Michigan plus the points, and it's a fairly strong opinion. I'll tell you why. Ohio State, as good as they are, they might be the best team in football. I'm not saying they are, because Oregon might have something to say about that. Georgia possibly, or Texas might have something to say about it, not to mention the 8 other teams in the playoffs. But Ohio State, they have some issues on the offensive line. Their center out, tackle out, backup tackle, questionable. Give me the 20 points. I don't see Ohio State winning by 21 points or more.
Okay, how about Kansas State plus 2.5 at Iowa State? And then we'll get to your play on the Texas A&M game.
Iowa State Cyclones, Ames, Iowa, hosting Kansas State University. It might be a bit of a revenge spot for Kansas State. These two teams do not like each other. Last year, senior night, Kansas State lost at home to Iowa State. Cyclones ran up and down the field. Kansas State will play spoiler here. I see this game as a toss-up. Give me 2.5. I'll see the cashier.
All right, Kansas State plus 2.5 for Scott Pritchard, and you're going to play the Texas A&M game under the total of, let's see, number here, 49.
I like under because I respect the Longhorns' defense, and I think the freshman quarterback Reed will have some challenges moving the ball for A&M. Under is the play.
All right, and you also got Troy. One more play here. Southern Miss Troy over the total of 48.
I like over because both teams defensively are absolutely pathetic. Troy, they give up 375 yards and 30 points a game. It's even worse for Southern Miss. 1-10 on the year. They've given up 450 yards a game and 37 points a contest. Over.
All right, that's Scott Pritchard, third place finisher in the contest a year ago. You can follow him on Twitter at PritchardWins. And Scott, always appreciate you stopping by the studio. Best of luck this weekend.
Welcome back from Maui. Chris Piper wanted me to ask you, who was the best team you saw in Maui?
Auburn, no doubt about it.
I liked how you didn't hesitate.